Non-Conquest balance has been in Smite for over a year now, and I'm definitely not the only person who has completely lost track of them. So here is a list of them as of 10.9. Starting off with Mr. Non-Conquest himself, we have Puch, who has minus 5% damage to gods, minus 10% damage to minions, plus 5% to his non-ultimate cooldowns, and plus 15% for his ultimate cooldowns. Keeping it with mages, we have our Kuang, who has minus 5% damage taken and minus 10% of all his cooldowns. Unsurprisingly, Aphro gets a nerf, which is plus 20% to her ultimate cooldown. The Queen of Arachnophobia receives 10% less damage and 10% ult cooldown. Ares receives plus 30% cooldown on his ultimate. Artemis also gets a nerf of minus 5% damage to gods and plus 10% ultimate cooldown. One that surprised me is Atlas. He gets nerfs of plus 5% to his non-ult cooldowns and plus 10% to his ult cooldown. Baka minus 10% damage taken and 10% cooldown for his ult. Cama gets 10% ultimate and non-ultimate cooldown. The edgy e-boy Cherno gets 15% ultimate cooldown. Daji gets minus 10% damage taken. The elephant boy Ganesha gets plus 5% to his non-ult cooldowns and plus 10% to his ultimate cooldown. Horus actually takes 5% increased damage. Hun Batz gets minus 10% damage taken and minus 10% to his non-ultimate cooldowns. Khepri gets a big nerf of plus 5% damage taken, plus 5% to his non-ult cooldowns, and plus 15% to his ult cooldown. Kuzenbo deals 5% less damage to gods, and gets plus 5% to his non-ult cooldowns. Nemesis gets minus 5% damage taken, and gets minus 10% non-ultimate cooldowns. Nox gets plus 10% to all her cooldowns. Nuar gets minus 5% damage dealt, and gets plus 10% to her ult cooldown. Odin's ultimate cooldown is increased by 15%, whereas Olorun's ultimate cooldown is decreased by 10%. Like most junglers, Serqet gets buffed, minus 10% damage taken and plus 5% damage to gods. Set also gets buffs of plus 5% damage to minions, minus 5% damage taken and minus 5% non-ultimate cooldowns. Sobek gets plus 10% to his non-ultimate cooldowns. The e-boyfriend Susano gets plus 5% to all his cooldowns and minus 5% damage to gods. The Morgan gets minus 10% ultimate cooldown. The final god is Zeus, who gets minus 10% damage to gods and plus 5% non-ultimate cooldowns. That's every god that has non-conquest balance. I was quite surprised that Thoth gets no changes. I always thought he was a really great non-conquest god. Do you think any gods should get non-conquest balance changes? Pop them down below.